This video is sponsored by Parade, but more on that later.
Because who you support publicly is very important. After all, Jeffree's in the predicament he is now because he supported the wrong person.
If you've been watching me for a while, then you know that I have done a lot of things in my past that I hate. That I wish I could make go away, that I try to make go away by deleting videos or untagging my Instagram things or literally doing whatever I can to pretend like those things didn't happen.
I did not make my video because of vitamins. I made it as a result of all of the poisonous lies that were fed to me by Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star. James Charles's Sugar Bear Hair sponsorship and all of the drama that had kicked up afterwards, that was just my breaking point.
I'm losing my mind. I'm losing my mind. This is so
Now, in the past, I've been very guilty of speaking out of anger, out of frustration, out of my emotions. I'm so quick to grab my phone and just say whatever's on my mind in that moment without ever really thinking the ramifications of my words, my actions, and for the first time in a very long time, I'm really reflecting on my behavior and mine alone.
Hi everyone! Today we're going to do the final part of the 3-part series that I've been doing on each of the Dramageddons in the beauty community, and I'm going to link a playlist down below of the sort of beauty guru related drama videos that I've made, and I will also link parts 1 and 2 down below for you. Before we really get into all the meat and potatoes, links, sources, ways to support the channel all down below, including Amazon, Patreon, YouTube members, all that kind of stuff. Members and patrons, thank you dearly for those of you who are currently supporting the channel. The names are on the screen. Yippee. Thank you dearly. Also, there will be a link to today's sponsor, Parade, down below. We'll get more into that a little bit later. Shoutouts to the icon of my life, legend, bestie, God amongst plebs, if you will, Nor, for helping a bestie out for real, in making a timeline for this video. Shout out to them for real, icon, legend, base. Now, we are going to have a lot of parts of the video today again, because this is a doozy. This one was so much worse than I remember, and there was so much more that built up to it, but because this one was sequentially like so long with so many pieces, it doesn't feel like a Dramageddon in the way that parts 1 and 2 were, where it was like a set of like small videos by the people involved that really sparked everything. Rather, this was more so of a kind of collection of different things that resulted in this like all of a sudden rapid and steep decline. So we have part 1, the build-up, July 2019 to June 2020. Part 2, escalated criticism. Part 3, Shane Dawson's Manifesto. Part 4, the apology tour. And Part 5, focus shifts back to Jeffree Star. But first, before we get into that, I want to thank Parade for sponsoring today's video. Today I'm back here working with the besties at Parade once again. Again, thank you so much for continuing to work with the channel. You all know, I would assume by now, that if I'm continuously working with a specific brand, it's because I am loving the reception, I am loving the product, I am loving the communication between myself and you all about how you're feeling about everything. And today, we're going to talk about another product that I've been loving, as well as another discount code that I have for you all today. So if you don't know about Parade, you haven't seen one of these reads by me before, they are an inclusive underwear and apparel brand that focuses on fit, comfort, and quality while keeping the prices very reasonable. And today I want to talk about this specific product, which is just the sheer sculpt cutout bralette with just the silky mesh kind of thing. And it's just a little simple piece like this, so you can wear kind of like as a shirt piece or like kind of poke out or whatever, or you obviously have underneath your clothes. This is in the size 2+, not 2+ like, you know, 2+ like double XL plus size situation. They actually do, which I talk about every time I do one of these, because this is the thing that has like gagged me the most on earth, is that they do kind of like bralette structured sizing that goes beyond just small, medium, large, extra large, extra large, etc. That actually focuses on like the difference in like cup sizes and the way they're going to be constructed. And these, what they do essentially is, I've noticed they'll widen the side part here, which I really appreciate, or they'll widen the area on the top to kind of fit, but then the band can stay smaller depending on what your needs are. And I think when it comes to things like bralettes specifically, that is like so hard to come by. And also, I think my thing I like about this the most is like how cute the dye job is and the little details. As you can kind of see, like the different shifts and stuff, and then you have like all your little pieces of the black fabric there, and then you have like a mild transparency through there. But I can also wear this all day under my t-shirts, under whatever, and I don't have any issues, which is something that has not been a reality for me with things like bralettes literally forever in my entire life. So you can imagine how excited I am to finally have things that fit properly, because it's just like been such a disaster for whatever reason. Especially, I would have never expected this happening from a brand that I'm ordering the products from online. I really appreciated like the size structure, and also I'm happy to report back to y'all after my third order with them that essentially the sizing is very consistent, the fits are very consistent, and actually this has been, the Parade products I've been getting have been rapidly replacing all of my other day-to-day products I had, whether that be at like sleepwear, t-shirts, underwear, bras, apparel, whatever. Everything that I've ordered, I've loved. So with my code MEGA50, you can get 50% off this product and many other products on Parade's website. However, this does exclude the Betsy Johnson products and the 80% off sale, but I did check. You can combine, let's say you take 3 80% off products and 1 full price product and you use my code. Sometimes on some other websites, you'll get declined if you have any sale products in the basket. It will just take 50% off a full price product, and then you're able to just like keep the 80% off from the other sale items as well. So everything can just be into one cart, which I really appreciate that as well. So if you use code MEGA50, you get 50% off products excluding the 80% off sale and the Betsy Johnson collection. Thank you again, Parade, for sponsoring the video. Now let's get right into the drama, the mess, the tea, the goss. Really get into everything. For those of you who are not familiar, my The Rhetoric of series looks at current or past internet controversies and unpacks the way that the creators go through situations and the strategies they use throughout these situations. It is not necessarily a full 100% comprehensive deep dive, but those are linked in the source document down below that Nora and I had compiled for going through this, that you can view at your own pleasure, and also my own videos I've done before that I've kind of implemented some of the things that I can remember from those videos as well, which will also be in the playlist link down below. Part 1, the build-up. As per the previous Dramageddon, there was a year of peace, sort of. Peace asterisk, because 2020 happened in the middle of this, okay? I genuinely think the reason we have not seen another Dramageddon is because this particular set of events was really sort of the third strike that I found to really take out the beauty community. And when I say the beauty community, I mean the head honcho, almost mafioso vibe, like people at the head of everything that kind of could control everything underneath. Those big names are what I'm referring to as it's sort of being taken out. I found actually that smaller names began to emerge from this at this time. One of them notably actually being Raw Beauty Christie. We know how I feel about Raw Beauty Christie now. If you don't, super TLDR. She started doing homeschooling through this like super homophobic compound. I made a video about it. Funny enough, I put a caption on the screen, made a typo after making fun of the grammar structure of that video. But it's funny because I edited that whole thing after my full-time job at night till 1 o'clock in the morning. Not promotional materials for an education center. Some people couldn't tell the difference in what the levels of that would be. I have a master's in teaching. Yes, I can spell the word obviously. I just can't spell it at 1 o'clock in the morning after I started work at 9 a.m. Anyways, so these sorts of smaller names that started to emerge, obviously a lot of that has turned on its head now. TikTok seems to kind of be the bigger beauty community. Then you got Michaela doing whatever she's doing. I've talked about her before. That's also in the Beauty Guru playlist, which is going to be an absolute doozy to compile. I'm realizing now as I'm speaking about it how much stuff I've talked about. I also think that the efforts of Jeffree Star trying to like allegedly, hypothetically in Minecraft, crush the competition really fizzled out as James Charles emerged to the height of his career through this time in this drama. Even as in early 2020, for example, James had a lot of kind of big successes with as well the beauty influencer show called Instant Influencer, where James Charles was kind of supposed to like train people on how to be like beauty gurus. And it's really interesting how that turned out, because when you looked at the numbers, a lot of people got the most, and I don't know how else to say this, synthetic fame from that. Actually, this would be another good video to look, but like almost like the Rhetoric of Instant Influencer. That might be something that's worth going into, but because like you got all these people that were platformed on the back of James Charles, let's say they had hundreds of thousands of subscribers just instantly, but then they had like 10K, 20K views on a video. And I remember people pointing that out specifically, like, there were like certain T channels that were bringing it up that essentially it was so fabricated feeling, which is not, it wasn't actually fabricated, like these were real subscribers, but there were so many dead subscribers that it was literally like, it felt like they had bought subscribers. So that whole thing was also kind of a mess in retrospect. But as I mentioned in my last video, there was a new Jeffree Star x Shane Dawson series in the works, and this one was designed to kind of uphold the values of like Jeffree Star Cosmetics and like unearth what's going on with the beauty community, which in retrospect, Peter Mon discussed that behind the scenes, James Charles had been talking about wanting to do this. And even in the Breaking My Silence Tati video, which we get to way down the line, videos chaptered for that, by the way, that is discussed as well, that this was in fact something that James was kind of bringing. James Charles did sort of reveal this in the tweets that he got beef with Marlena Stellan, which I hopefully mentioned in my last video, which was kind of just James getting mad that Netflix wanted Marlena Estelle to do a series sort of thing about the beauty community, which wasn't even what it ended up being. It ended up being more so of kind of like a series talking about like counterfeit makeup and like the makeup process and design and things like that. That wasn't beauty community forward, kind of in the way that Jeffree and Shane's thing was. So the Conspiracy Collection, which started with the Beautiful World of Jeffree Star, which began airing October 1st, 2019. So this was a series dedicated to showing the process of the Conspiracy Collection, showing the process of the products and all that kind of stuff. I don't have the palette to show anymore. I did actually have it, and I did actually get it on first launch. Very, very, very first video on my channel. You have me using it, and then there's another video a little bit down the line that I use it. I can't remember, but I gave it away before I moved away from my undergrad at Waterloo, like in 2022. So she's been long dead, unfortunately. This was the most successful and lucrative series to date, with multiple parts, merch designs, collaborations, and pieces of the makeup collection being released incrementally. This series had the two rise to quite literally unprecedented levels of success and revenue between the two of them. You genuinely could not get away from these people. And I think something that people ignore too when they talk about like how much money Shane had made off the palette and things like that. I can't even fathom how much 50 million views is in AdSense. I think actually on Reddit, this is off script entirely. I think on Reddit I saw, don't get mad at me. I think on Reddit I saw like Ludwig had opened his YouTube studio really quick and it had shown his views, and he had 120 million views in a month or something. And it was like 200 grand US or something like that. Like it was 6-figure amounts. So Shane was putting out a video a week, had amassed at least 200 million views on that collectively. Or those all the series anyways, which means that's like 6-figure AdSense. I have not even had 5-figure AdSense in my entire life. So, girl, I barely get 4. Anyway, trailer of the series was released in September of 2019, with much of the content discussing kind of like how Shane and Jeffree were reacting to Dramageddon. This was given that people were really curious as to what their reactions were, given that they were in the public light at this time, and had kind of discussed and hinted at recording during this time in the past. While in retrospect, a lot of people were viewing the series in kind of like I would say an undeserving positive light, some of the biggest superfans were actually critical of the difference between the presentation of the series in the trailer and how it actually came to be once it was put out. So much so that Shane actually included like those excerpts and stuff very lightly at the end of the last episode. This was just done to appease the people that were upset with him, because Shane Dawson has the spine of a rubber band for real. And like it was just really disappointing, and I think genuinely it's because they kind of knew how much they had fiddled behind the scenes, how bad it kind of looked on their reactions behind the scenes. And because, so like when they filmed it, I think they were thinking, James, it's going to be a James Charles dunk, right? Like it's over, and then we can show how we were like at the forefront of it, right? That we were able to push it, and we're like the people who saved everyone from James Charles. But when the script flipped, they're like, oh my god, we talked so much smack, we were so nasty, and now it's for nothing. And I think that's actually why nothing had come out in the way that it did. The Conspiracy collection from Jeffree Star Cosmetics became one of, if not the biggest initial makeup launches in history. And the thing is that it's really hard to look this up, because the issue that stands with that is when you look up things like best-selling makeup products, for example, you're not getting, because a lot of other products, let's say something like MAC Studio Fix, something like ABH Dip Brow, something like Milk Hydrogrip Primers, whatever, they don't tend to track beauty launches at first initial launch. Even when I was talking about, I believe it was like the Rhetoric or Jacqueline Hill, I was finding some stuff about the initial Becca launch, but you could never find, and it was like sketchy numbers in like a random blog that I found from like 2000 and whatever it was. So it's like, it's hard to find. Unfortunately, these numbers are not like publicly available in the way that they are. And then when the numbers we were provided with were from Jeffree Star, which is like not a reliable source, unfortunately. So even once the palettes were shipped out from Jeffree Star Cosmetics, once they began to arrive at people's homes, people were complaining about the quality issues, such as the palettes being literally in shambles, like exploded, bad shipping practices. That was from people who order from Beauty Bay, which Jeffree was like, threw them under the bus big time. There were people such as myself that were complaining about how the palette was pressed. And I'll actually include a clip of me complaining about this like a couple years ago. It was literally like, I have like whatever, let's say like a brush like this. If I wanted to use the red, the orange, the yellow, I would have to gouge the back with the brush and then pick it up on the other side. And it was one of my first luxury makeup products. I had a Tarte palette, the pineapple specifically, but which like wasn't good really to begin with. This was my first kind of touch on like pressed pigment, high impact colors and stuff, and it was bad. My Colourpop stuff has been way better for me. My Juvias Play stuff has been way better for me. I'm wearing a mix of Colourpop and Beauty Bay right now, and you can see how the blue is bluing, you know what I'm saying? I kind of tried to give like a Jeffree Star Blue Blood moment, but obviously without using like the Voldemort Satan makeup in Minecraft and allegedly in game or whatever. In April 2020, about 5 months after the completion of this series with Shane Dawson, Jeffree confirms his continued hatred of James Charles via an episode of Keemstar's podcast, now defunct or whatever the word is for when something is ended, with Mr. Intellect of our lifetime, FaZe Banks.
I'm not going to talk to him. Haven't seen him since Toddy's birthday. He's a danger to society. And then you had a follow-up tweet where it was like basically saying, everyone keeps asking me for receipts. I have much to say. What's going on with that? Like,
what was the ending of all that? Like, where did that all end up?
I'll tell you. Okay, I'll tell you the ending.
Is James one thing real quick? Is James Charles a danger to society? Is he a predator?
Keem.
That was a long pause. Long ass fucking pause. There.
I have to ask this.
Listen. There's a long pause because it's a very complicated situation. So before I answer, the ending banks was me, James, and Tati all making peace so the internet can go back to being the internet, because it was getting so ugly and dark. But
it got crazy.
Yeah, so
I hopped in.
So people do want to put together the parallels of this 10-year situation and me saying this stuff about James. It's a very complicated question. And why?
I know, but like it's the same scenario though, because like if James is actually a danger, right? Then this is the opportunity, like the Darby thing, where you can say something. You know what I mean? Or is like maybe you shouldn't have put that tweet out. Like which one is it? Like I'm sorry, Jeffree, but I have to ask.
No, and I'm 100% comfortable with that. It's going to upset a lot of people, but the truth is that someone, and right now I legally can't say who, told us a few things, and we trusted that person's opinion, and then another person said some things that was friends with that man. And it really convinced us that he was a predator.
Is this another case of what happened before with the other guy?
No, this is
Is there a possibility of that? Because, I mean, they were telling you about this guy, which turned out to be true now. Is this possible with James?
From what I remember with all the drama, you didn't actually ever say flat out like you saw it. Like it was always in the proper context of like, listen, like I'm speaking about this from kind of the view of like the circle of people that we've been discussing this with, kind of sort of thing. Like I don't think it's similar in the sense that you flat out said I saw some shit. You know what I mean?
Similar enough. I'm sorry, it's similar enough.
I'm lost. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's similar, but it's people that are in our community that are saying things, and I don't know if they're true or not.
But this is exactly the same thing that happened before, right?
It's actually not.
What?
So if you want, we can pause, and I can go to another room and play Banks what I have on my phone, and he can determine if he would have sent the same tweet. At the end of the day, I'm not going to out a victim of James Charles.
Okay.
Yeah, we
all right, it's real because I don't know if it's real, and I'll go to the other room and play
these subjects to the
it's
subject
so
that we've been
because everyone wants to make me you ruined James Charles' career. No, Tati did and uploaded a 40-minute video about him, and she should have never uploaded that.
Yeah, that's why.
But she did, and for some reason, James thinks that me and Shane tried to ruin his life and orchestrated the whole thing. Like we fucking care. You know Shane longer than me, Chaïm. You think we care to drag or ruin someone? For what? We're our own superstars. We're our own lane. We're doing our own thing together, and we've made so much magic. Why would we want to ever bring someone down? We don't give a fuck.
There's a couple things that happen publicly, right? Like, so Toddy uploads the video, and Shane Dawson immediately is like supporting Toddy, buying her vitamins.
The vitamins, the fucking vitamin. That's where I hopped in. Like, let me just quickly say, like, I still would love to know, and I'm going to ask you off the air. I would love to know how many vitamins she sold. I would love to know. It's crazy.
Yeah, and Shane helped her sell a lot of those vitamins.
Crazy. It's fucking crazy.
But it really seemed like it was the three of you versus James, right? And then James defended himself, and then it seemed like you and Shane were still tight, but it doesn't seem like, you know, you guys are still tight with Toddy, right? So what happened?
I mean, look, I don't think we should be fake at all. We are currently not friends with Tati. Are we enemies? No, but we are not friends anymore.
What happened? If I can ask
I mean, I think that she really thought, but see, here's the thing, Chaïm, you have to remember that everyone unfollowed James. Not just about my tweet. You think half of those celebrities, Kylie, all those people unfollowed him. It was like, wow, like we all finally can. And it was so dark, and it was very, it was insane. And everyone hopped.
It was actually fucking insane.
Everyone.
It was insane.
So it wasn't.
Alyssa at the time unfollowed him just because she felt like she like had to.
So it wasn't, me, Shane, and Tati against this person. Shane didn't ever really say anything. Yeah, I tweeted out a few things, and it was Tati's 40-minute video, but I get it. I'm more interesting. She's safe. And I think in some sick way, James thinks that me and Shane were behind it.
Well, the reason why I link you two to it is because, okay, Shane was coming out with this documentary on the beauty community, right? Which I was really excited about, right? And all this James Charles Toddy stuff was totally going to be involved, and then it morphed in to your guys' collaboration on your makeup. So, like, what happens? There had to have been a falling out behind the scenes that stopped that documentary from happening the way it was originally supposed to be, you know?
See, I wish it was juicier than that, but me and Shane really from the get-go wanted to show the business side about how to really create makeup, and I think that his trailer really insinuated that there was going to be a lot more drama.
Which was a podcast that ran between the two of them, which looking back was so incredibly messy. I also kind of want to do a video where we look back, but the thing is that people don't care about Keemstar on this channel, unfortunately, in the sense of like y'all don't care about it that much, which is so valid, to be fair. That's not a complaint per se, but the thing is that like I unfortunately can't yap about Keemstar as much as I'd like to with my current constricting schedule of having to be an adult with a full-time job or whatever, because like I like Mom's Basement in particular like had Trisha Paytas. They talked so much smack about Ethan Klein, but also at the same time, like I said, it was like, where's the IQ? Is it in the room with us? Like, it was so vapid at the same time, which just makes it so wild to look back on. In that podcast, almost a year after everything had happened, Jeffree Star was still leveraging this supposed proof that he had via a voice note. A voice note that has now sort of been confirmed that it was from a certain individual. I don't really want to go through that. We all know who it is. I'm sorry if you don't, go find it, because it's not my place to speak, especially because like they're not really on the internet anymore. Like I'm just like not into it. Jeffree Star is just saying that like we're all wrong about James Charles. He's still evil, and he has voicemails and other proof that he wants to leverage for it being real. I'm sorry, I was stirring my iced coffee. I have to start my shift in like an hour, so anyway. And recall that at this time James Charles had a good reputation, okay? Like we got to remember that. I know, hindsight 2020, no pun intended, I guess, in this case, but it's something that we do need to remember. While these things picked up in the drama communities and people were talking about it, there's never a sense of it feeling like, even though Jeffree was also in good, kind of, had a pretty decent reputation at this time, sort of, it was never considered that Jeffree wanted to help anyone. This was still kind of considered as a pretty selfish pursuit, and I feel like that's been consistent throughout, like, the entire situation type deal, right? From this, then, things begin to spiral even more, as there was a continued unearthing of allegations from Blood on the Dance Floor singer Davi Vanity. I'm not going to go super deep into the Davi Vanity stuff. One, because the Liam McAvoy videos go really deep, which are in the document. Two, I don't want to talk about that. Sorry. It's like so dark and deep, and I think has kind of become so messy because of it being brought online, that I think the victims were just put in like a horrific position, especially with the involvement of Chris Hansen, whose at the time reputation was somewhat less ass, but his reputation really fell apart too when during the Onision investigations, one of his assistants or something like that tampered with evidence that was supposed to go to the FBI, so that just ended up leading to nothing. So the Davi Vanity stuff specifically, to be super, super vague, and trigger warning throughout this rest of this video too, even about allegations of SA and things like that. And I should have had that in the beginning as well. But it's Davi Vanity was essentially a pop punk singer in the most real sense, in the most accurate sense possible for some reason, where they would tour things like Warped Tour and stuff like that, and then take advantage of like very, very young girls. And when I'm saying like young, I'm not talking like 17, which is still disgusting and gross. And don't call me Colossal's crazy being like, when you say minor, you should say 17 or whatever. Like, I'm talking like 14-year-old girls and things like that, and like chatting with people online and just and assaulting them in real life and things like that. So what ended up happening with that is that people were pointing out that Jeffree Star pointed this out, that this was happening online, being this like big savior thing that he always tries to be for whatever reason, then toured with Davi Vanity again after that and like deleted the stuff, which is super weird and strange when you're like it's so wild to me because like Jeffree Star always makes himself out to be this guy who was always right? So Jeffree Star always like, it goes like, I was right? Even though Jeffree Star is the most flip-floppy fish thing on earth, right? He's probably running around now being like, I was right about James Charles, blah, 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 blah. What happened in your Golden Couch video where you're like, and also the Never Doing This Again, where you're like, I'm sorry about the things I said about James Charles. I just should have approached him and in private and discussed it. But your whole thing was that you were kind of trying to like save everyone from James in the public eye because that's how he was like allegedly taking advantage of people, which ends up kind of coming out later 2021, things like that. But you have no morals. You just want to try to be right at a given time. That's really what it is. Like, let's just keep it a stack fully, right? And Smoky Glow also brings this up in her Dramageddon videos where she talks about this sort of disconnect that Jeffree Star has where he'll try to like protect people that have essay allegations against them based on like how they are in the public eye in the way that it favors him, just showing that it is very much a transactional process and has nothing to do with any sort of morality behind these situations. And to the people who are Jeffree Star fans who are going to comment the same shit that I'm a Jeffree Star hate channel, as if a majority of my videos are not about him, as if I give a shit, brother, go outside. Like, I read the comment, went, they're annoying, and then never thought about it, like, just, like, went past it. That's all. That's all you've gotten, girl. If me not just replying something like cringe because I think it's funny. Part 2, escalated criticism. Now that we've built our foundations that sort of show, like, Rome falling, if you will, we can really move on to the part that, like, blew up these people's empires circa, you know, something that happened in Star Wars, maybe, I don't know. Once the criticisms of the previously untouchable Jeffree and Shane kind of began to bubble up to a point that was not able to be ignored anymore, other people who were interacting or friends with Jeffree and Shane in real life kind of began to speak out. But other creators also began pointing things out. Now, the sort of tip of this iceberg, if you will, was Liam McAvoy's video on Jeffree Star titled, I Found What Jeffree Star Was Hiding in Expose. Now, I want to talk about Liam McAvoy. Are you okay, Gus? Damn. I want to talk about Liam McAvoy as a creator as well, despite the fact that he hasn't uploaded in years at this point. I have been saying that Liam is the inspiration for the structure and content on this channel. I've mentioned this before, even in my very first video on the channel about Jeffree Star that is still public. And the way that Liam intertwined anthropology content into the commentary is the basis on how I structured my videos, because Liam would touch on sort of more rudimentary rhetoric processes. And then I, in my head, was like, okay, well, I know this on like a deeper level because this is like my specific area of practice. I could go into this more as well with a variety of other topics because I wasn't as interested in people the likes of Jeffree Star. I wanted to expand into other types of content as well. In the Jeffree Star video, Liam presents ethos, pathos, logos, which are the three basics that bring together the foundations of rhetoric, which made me realize that I could also bring something into making videos in the first place. Liam's video exposed the process of business endeavors that Jeffree Star had began with in his career, including the company that Jeffree had before Jeffree Star Cosmetics. This is debatable. Jeffree claims this was never a company, which is an edgy photo shoot. Liam was able to find like registrations and things like that. So again, a lot of this is very murky because of a lot of sneaky deleting that happened. The name of this company was called Lipstick Nazi.
First thing I want to talk to you about is this.
Hey, how's it going?
Not Jeffree Star Cosmetics, what actually came before. Jeffree Star Cosmetics is actually Jeffree Star's second attempt at the brand because his first is a lot darker than you'd think. Jeffree Star's first attempt at a makeup brand is called Lipstick Nazi.
Wait a damn minute.
It was a non-themed range of makeup. Now, it is unclear whether or not it was going to be lipstick or eyeshadow or even makeup, but it was definitely going to be a product of some sort, because there are a few like coming soon style ad campaign kind of photo shoots. That was literally my shade like yesterday. Okay. Basically on Twitter, someone made a thread about this, and some of the people in the comments were quick to say that that was not actually in fact Jeffree Star. It was his doppelganger named Yuki Demon. And people said this was Yuki because Yuki Demon released a song in 2012 or 2011 called Lipstick Nazi. It's an understandable confusion, however, it's actually false. This is actually Jeffree Star. I know this because when you go on internetarchive.com, the earliest appearance of lipsticknazi.com dates back to March 9th, 2004. Now, I'm going to be talking about Internet Archive a lot in this video, so I just want to tell you what it is. It's basically a website where you can save basically like the HTML code or certain files that a website was. You can basically turn back the internet.
I have a time machine.
And on that 2004 version of lipsticknazi.com, it's a really simple page. It just says Jeffree Star, Hollywood's biggest threat.
We got you.
And just to be fully thorough, I went to a few other versions of this website. This is in fact Jeffree Star's website because the May 8th, 2004 version of this website has a disclaimer at the bottom of the screen that says all site contents are copyright of J Star 2001 to 2004. Now, that's not even the icing on the scumbag cake here, because when you go to the version of Lipstick Nazi from April 3rd, 2005, you are greeted with the first... Yes? Get the fuck out of my room! You are greeted with the first ad campaign for this brand that never was. So the first ad campaign for lipsticknazi.com is basically Jeffree Star sitting on a couch, huge self-inflicted cut on his arm. And the logo of Lipstick Nazi appears to be what is a inverted swastika.
Liam also unpacks some general lies throughout, such as claiming that Jeffree has never used drugs or tried alcohol. Found a bunch of posts of him on this blog website called Melodramatic, along with other posts that reference the KKK and other themes of white supremacy, as well as glamorizing things such as self-harm and people having like his name carved into his wrist. And there's actually an overall rhetoric section in that video, which I think is pretty base and epic as well. Liam also collects many stray pieces of the Davi Vanity situation, including a clip from a Repzilla video where a victim claims that Jeffree Star was a victim of Davi Vanity specifically, claims that Jeffree Star witnessed someone's essay. After the video really started to gain traction, an ex-friend of Jeffree Star named Cam Lester made a long IGTV video about what had happened with Jeffree Star. Now, it appears that IGTV doesn't really exist anymore, which is so interesting because that was such a thing that like I completely forgot existed. For those of you who don't know, IGTV was like just long form Instagram videos, which I think now you can just post them on your regular Instagram feed. I don't know why they tried to make it like a different thing. I think what really happened was they got replaced with Reels, like functionally, because they realized that shorter content was the move, not longer content. In Cam's video, he quickly disavows Jeffree and Shane, and it started when Cam went to Houston to see Jeffree and Rich Lux. Jeffree randomly asks him out of nowhere if he likes James Charles. Cam had worked with James Charles in the past and felt supported by him. Because the answer that he stated was not super direct, Jeffree became combative and saw Cam texting in a Louis Vuitton store when they were there with Rich Lux or something like that, and was like, "Are you texting James?" As if it had to be like a loyalty act.
I remember being in Houston and I was there with Rich Lux to collab, and you know, Jeffree was there, he was doing work and business and all that kind of stuff, and we were sitting in a Louis Vuitton store with several people in the store, and I was excited, I was having fun, you know, I was getting to kind of see the behind the scenes of Jeffree's life, and you know, some stuff that I wanted to do once I got bigger and established into the beauty community. And I remember there was this instance where he's like asking me if I like James or not. And I was just so shocked. He was like, "Do you like James? Like, do you like him?" And I just was so shocked and uncomfortable because he's like such a big powerhouse, and he asked me this, and I was like, I didn't even know what to say to that. I was just uncomfortable. There was people around me, and he just like was so blunt and out of nowhere asked me, "Do you like James?" And if you guys know me, James helped me with my career when I first got into the beauty space and tell my HIV story. Like, he's always been very supportive of me. And I was like, I don't have a problem with him. Do I agree with everything he does? No. But I don't have a personal problem with him, and he's done so much for me, so why would I go against him? And he was like, "Well, you don't fucking owe him forever." And I just was like taken back when he said that, because I was like, it all happened so fast. He's like, "You don't fucking owe him forever." And I just remembered that. And I was like, what? OMG. And we're in the Louis Vuitton store. So I'm just like dang, I don't know what to even think of that. I didn't even know what to do. So I was just kind of like, you know, trying to enjoy the moment and be present. And then later that night, I got into the car with Rich Lux, and he told me himself that Jeffree was asking, he thinks that Rich Lux told me that Jeffree thought I was talking to James at the Louis Vuitton store. And from that, when I was in that car, I knew that he automatically just didn't trust me off the jump. And this is early on in our relationship. This is in the beginning. And I was kind of hurt because I was like, I would never do that. First, I was uncomfortable. I didn't know how to handle the situation. I didn't know what to say about the situation. I was just really uncomfortable. So I didn't even, my first thought was not to DM James. I'm not malicious and I try not to do stuff like that. I just didn't know what to do. I honestly just wanted to act like it never happened, but it did happen. And that was the first instance. And there's been many things, and I've always tolerated so many things, and I've always been like, okay, like, it's not that big of a deal, Cameron. Like, it's never, like, there was never something where he personally attacked me, but there was also another situation in Houston when the next day, when we were in the hotel, and I was in his hotel, and we were just chilling. We were talking to Rich Lux again and a few other people, and I was talking to Jeffree, and I remember Shane Dawson called, and he was going off about James Charles and something and telling, like, just like cursing James out, and I was just like kind of taken back because I've never seen Shane Dawson like that, and he was just going in on James. And I was like, oh, is there like there's something like brewing, there's something going on with James and Shane and Jeffree. So I was just uncomfortable, and I just was like, I'm gonna stay over here. I don't even know what to do. I was really small at this point. I'm still pretty small, and I was just like, I'm not saying anything.
There are people I knew growing up that were like this. It was like, if you don't agree with like the things that I'm doing, I would point out something or whatever. It's like, you're not loyal. When I think back on that, I feel like when someone brings up the concept of loyalty outside of the context of maybe like, you know, cheating or, I don't know, in my personal experience rather, only the most manipulative people that have the least ability for self-reflection or self-exploration bring up loyalty as a leverage. I have never had someone tell me that I'm not loyal when they're not treating me like garbage. Just to kind of tit for tat on that one, brother. Shane also calls in the next day, and Cam noticed, like, on the phone, he could hear Shane just, like, bad-mouthing James nonstop, and that was when Cam had realized, like, how kind of, like, mean and nasty they were behind. This was the first seed of proof that Bi Sister was kind of constructed by Shane and Jeffree, and this was the big climax for Dramageddon 2. This was apparently 3 months before the Tati Westbrook video had come out in May of 2019. The longtime friend of Jeffree Star as well, Tab David, also went on YouTube to talk about his experiences with Jeffree Star in, I believe, a now deleted video. Here, Tab talks about this infamous trip to Vegas. So what had happened was they all went on a trip. Was it for Trisha Paytas' birthday? Or Trisha Paytas was there anyway. The cause of this trip is neither here nor there. Anyway, it was like Tab, Jeffree, I think, it was Hair by Jay. I think Lipstick Nick might have been there. Yeah, then Trisha was alone, I think. And there was a couple of other people. Rich Lux was there again for whatever reason. Rich Lux was like everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Like genuinely, like apparently Rich Lux is like subbed to this channel. Bestie, like comment down below. Tell me what happened, girl. I need the goss. Like I'm so curious as to like how were you everywhere and nowhere at the same time? When I say nowhere at the same time, it's like you're mentioned passively in these videos, but then like that's it, you know? And then like you kind of touched on it lightly, but it's like you were always there somehow. Anyway, so here is like a point by point really quick of kind of the things that Tab mentions happened on this Vegas trip. So they were supposed to see Gwen Stefani, and Gwen Stefani canceled the show in Vegas. So talking about when Gwen Stefani had canceled the Vegas show, Jeffree Star apparently calls Gwen Stefani the K-slur. Then I have in quote, the same LA mayor who banned exotic leathers are the ones that let illegals get green cards. This is just demonstrating how truly hateful and angry Jeffree is to most, if not anybody who's not, like, white. Jeffree Star hired a security guard specifically that he asked for him, who was an ex-cop who was fired for saying the N-word.
We were supposed to go see Gwen Stefani, actually, live in concert. And basically she canceled the show. So we were all figuring out what we were going to do for the night. And I had stepped outside on the patio. And Jeffree told me, you know, like, wow, I can't believe she canceled the show, and continued to say a very derogatory word towards Jewish people. It starts with a K. I'm not going to repeat the word, but that's what he said about her canceling the show. And initially, you know, my stomach dropped. It hurt my feelings. I had been put into a position really where I hadn't seen Jeffree in a couple years, and his new world and new friends and new entourage. Even in the first 10 minutes, I was pretty much overwhelmed. So we had decided to go shopping at the Crystals Mall, and his assistant had called or whatever and made sure it was cool for us to come to the store. And when we went to the store, we were looking at all this different stuff, all these different bags or whatever, or different wallets or whatever inside of the store. And Jeffree had made a specific comment about illegal leathers and exotic animal skins that are available at Hermes, but aren't legal in the state of Los Angeles. And he had made a comment saying that the same mayor that's making exotics illegal in Los Angeles is the same mayor that is giving illegals green cards. I looked at everyone else's reaction when he said that. They all looked at me, and we all kind of just sat back and was like, wow, I can't believe he's saying this, you know, and it sucked. So we go back to the hotel room. We're getting ready for the night, and I was wearing sweatpants this particular night, and they wanted to go to a nightclub, so they had a dress code here in Vegas. We have dress codes for clubs, and I had told Jeffree, you know, hey, I'm just gonna go home because I had already been feeling uncomfortable, but he begged me to come to the club and was like, hey, you can wear a pair of my security guard's pants, or I could buy you a new outfit, whichever you'd like. So I was like, okay, I will take the pants from the security guard. So when we were walking to his hotel room, which was a couple of rooms down from Jeffree's at the time, and I'm not gonna mention his name, but he had told me a story about how he was an ex-police officer, and he had got fired in Miami for saying the N-word on the job, and Jeffree flew him from Miami to be his personal bodyguard or security guard or whatever, knowing that about his past.
Tab talks about how they talked about Trisha Paytas' weight, skin, past drug abuse, things like that, bullied her the entire trip. This is the first instance of that being discussed openly. Talked about how Rich Lux had given Jeffree Star, it was like a card holder or a wallet from Hermes, which like Jeffree got mad about like behind his back or something because it was like the cheapest thing at Hermes. Apparently also Jeffree asked Tab to find him Adderall, which for those of you who don't know, Adderall is a Schedule II controlled substance, heavily monitored by the DEA in the United States, and it's illegal to buy it or get it outside of a prescription, and the prescriptions are super strict, so it's pretty hard to get.
And there had been a friend earlier in the night that was in the room that didn't attend the club with us. I'm not going to mention the name, but they had continued to make fun of this person all day, talk about how bad their skin was, body shame them, talk about their weight, talk about their past drug abuse, talk about their recovery, just the most disgusting, horrible things for him, his crew who does hair and makeup, who works in industry, to say. He had brought up Black China, a woman of color, and talking about how stupid she was. And there was a particular time in the night where this guy named Rich Lux, or whatever his name is, he had come up to the hotel room with 2 security guards or whatever that was about, and he had bought Jeffree a gift from Hermes, the same store we were at earlier. And Jeffree let him stay in the room for a good 10-15 minutes. The second he left the room, Jeffree tells me and everyone else in the room, like, yeah, he got me the cheapest thing in the store. And it's just funny, I already have that. The reason why I mention that is because he has a tendency to just talk bad about everybody. And it really just sucks, you know, like it hurts your feelings. And he has this way of kind of making it seem like it's okay.
Following this came a video from creator Ashley Kyle that low-key lives in my mind rent-free to this day, which was called I Was on Jeffree Star's Payroll. Now let's talk about that video because a lot of the tea and goss channels hate this video with a passion. So it begins with Ashley saying that their relationship started with Jeffree saying that Ashley was a liar because she had claims that there was plagiarism regarding the Jeffree Star Cosmetics alien palette. I'll put a picture of the palette on screen. It's just shaped like an alien. I don't really know what that video is because Ashley Kyle kind of vanished and I don't really know what she's talking about, and honestly I don't really care that much. So there's something about to do with plagiarism and the alien palette, okay? Jeffree Star tweeted her that she was a liar. They start DMing back and forth. Ashley apologizes to Jeffree in DMs. They follow each other and they exchange phone numbers. They goes through texts where Jeffree spent weeks planting the seeds about James Charles' downfall to Ashley. He would tell her that she was about to drop like shady Snapchats about somebody in order for her to be able to get like a first scoop on everything, which is sort of this concept of the payroll. So the concept of the payroll in this video, which is something that a lot of drama channels would disagree with as a concept, in the sense of like calling it a payroll was kind of like not accurate. The difference between like my foundational difference, genuinely, like I think, because a lot of people just be like, commentary channel boy, tea channel girl, because coconuts in there. It's the foundational difference I find between a drama channel and like a commentary channel is drama channels are more of like a news cycle. Okay, something that puts out everything as soon as it comes out. Meanwhile, commentary channel will kind of take those things that have come out, contextualize them, tend to be a timeline or a narrative, and maybe add in some other sort of textual element or referencing or something like that through the lens of a certain thing. For example, once you get into these sorts of hyper long form, you get into video essays, which is sort of what mine are, because my videos are quite literally structured like essays: introduction, body paragraphs, conclusion. Neither here nor there. I don't care if people call me a T channel. I don't care if people call me a drama channel. Video essays, commentary, don't care. Anyway, because they need to be in this news cycle, you tend to get the most views if you're the first person to talk about something. And this is where you have this sort of push and pull between the two, and that sort of payroll was that she was able to get videos out faster because she knew these things in advance. Jeffree told Ashley about the voice note, and she said it was not Jeffree's story to tell, nor hers. Discussed how her opinions felt like they were influenced by being in contact with Jeffree Star, but was not guided specifically on what to say by Jeffree Star.
And then you see the next text message and it says, "Oh my God, that's disgusting." Well, that's because Jeffree Star had sent me a voice note. Now, in that voice memo was when he basically said to me that James Charles was a point blank period. He did not go into details at the time, but he basically, that was what he implied. So I said, "Oh my God, that's disgusting." And he said, "We're all questioning if he has a soul." So I believed Jeffree. I did. I believed him. You know what I mean? I feel so stupid for it too. Like, I feel so stupid. So on May 1st, Jeffree Star texted me again and he said, "It's far from over. Gage got out safe." And that was after we had uploaded our video where James had sent us all of the text messages between him and Gage. So he said, "Wait for the others." What would you guys think if a friend, someone you considered a friend, because I wholeheartedly considered Jeffree my friend, what would you do if he said, "It's far from over, Gage got out safe"? So where would your mind go? You guys can do with that as you will, but that's where my mind went. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I believed him. I believed that James Charles was the person that he was making him out to be. Then he sent me a picture and said his eyes are so dead, it's haunting. And then I sent him a screenshot from someone who said, "I wonder who leaked the messages." You guys all knew it was James who leaked the messages. And he said, "It's also twisted. James isn't a real normal thinking human being. It's scary." And then this is something that when I was going through for this video, I caught this and I was like, because so many people have been saying Shane was involved. You know what I mean? He mentioned it on Mom's Basement. Shane was involved. And I was like, it didn't even dawn on me. Like, I had these messages. He said, "Shane and I feel like this weekend something bad is going to happen with all of this. James is playing with so much fire right now." Why does Shane and you feel like that? You know what I mean? Like, it didn't dawn on me at the time like that it does now. You know what I mean? What is Shane's involvement? Shane had no reason to really be involved in this. So then I put 2 and 2 together with the Mom's Basement, and now Cam coming out and talking about Shane cussing out James Charles. Yeah, I kind of put 2 and 2 together now, and it all makes sense.
That's more or less it for that video. It wasn't that much going on. Now we move on to Liam McAvoy's second video that went further into Jeffree Star's allegations, which was structured like an ethnography. The video is linked in the research document again. I'm going to talk super briefly about what it's about. Essentially, the video begins in 2011, starting by going through this like blog that Jeffree had posted on a revenge porn website called Is Anyone Up? He also references this in old tweets and how he has materials on people posted on that website. And afterwards, it sort of progresses beyond this. Continues by going through the progression of allegations that Jeffree Star had dealt with throughout his career, a lot of people claiming specifically SA allegations, coercion, very aggressive behaviors, things along that line. Liam builds all the connections that were missing in the Dobby Vanity situation, laying out via images, articles, tweets, deleted posts, things along that line. And then everything continues spiraling with lighter drama and how Jeffree would always try to appeal to past patterns of behavior and how he would stay afloat in these dramas, and kind of the beginning of the nature of his sneaky deleting, and it began to kind of not work anymore as things progressed into 2020. After Liam's video comes out and everything, Jeffree Star begins responding to people. He responds to Tab's video in the most cartoon villain-esque voicemail that I've ever heard in my life. I will play it for you right now, a little bit sped up.
Girl, how much did you smoke today? I told you to grow out your facial hair, and I checked on you after your breakup. Is actually the last thing me and you spoke about. That is the most craziest, manipulative, most insane thing I've ever heard in my entire life. I know you're upset. Your boyfriend left you. He stopped loving you. Your roommate moved out. You attacked Fenty. They didn't respond, and now people are coming for you for supporting me. So you trying to flip the script and make up a bunch of lies and make me the devil is so boring. Girl. Beverly, cute goatee. Come back to earth.
Rich Lux comes out to discuss details about the trip, being surprisingly chill about the details regarding the cheap item at Hermes thing, which surprises me because I would just be like annoyed that some rich person can't even like get their head out of their ass for like 30 seconds. But that's neither here nor there, I suppose. Trisha Paytas, one of the main subjects of multiple videos and comments regarding Jeffree Star's cartoonishly evil behavior towards people, who was surprisingly friendly, finally puts out some tweets about the situation. It's getting annoying. There were so many lies on so many topics about me lately, I can't keep up, nor do I want to. I go by people's actions on how they treat me, not by what the internet runs with. People just want reactions. I'm so over it. Let me just eat, and I'm not saying that word, in peace. Jeffree has always been over the top nice to me, and there's absolutely nothing he's ever needed from me, and vice versa. Like I said, I go on how people treat me and not what others say about them. That's it. I'm not responding. It's not worth my time, and it's more than likely lies, exaggerations, or somewhere in between. I'm so done wasting my energy on random people trying to push my buttons. Do we see a strange theme building here? People who have been like demonstrably mistreated by Jeffree are randomly coming out and saying nothing is true, people are over exaggerating, whatever, and then this script flips down the line. While this is a basic assessment, Jeffree Star genuinely has built an entire persona off of the appeal to antiquity fallacy, because I can't speak English clearly, which refers to the argument that the passage of time can separate someone from their actions alone. Like the time is healing all wounds situation. Behavior is a separation from what you have done. You can see the vitriol that Jeffree is willing to quickly throw out, calculated manipulative nature, and the claims of his actions behind the scenes. It is clear that this behavior has never changed. Even to this day, the quick spitting, the aggression, the use of, I think it was ableist slurs the last time, nothing has changed. And it's just so weird, the like mental gymnastics and cognitive dissonance that Jeffree needs in order to continue that narrative. Now let's do a little analysis on on Jeffree Star's statement, which is one of the most blatantly manipulative statements I've ever read in my life on my time online. Hey everyone, over the last week, a few old photos and a screenshot of an old website splash page from 2004-2006 have resurfaced, and I'd like to address them. When I was 17, I stupidly referred to anyone who was obsessed with makeup as a lip. It was offensive, derogatory, and for shock value. It does not reflect who I am today or what I stand for or have ever stood for. If you did it at one point, for years, you stood for it. Anyway, let's continue. It was a slang term when I was young, used on TV shows like Seinfeld, who had a character named the Soup Nazi named after a crazy cook. That's not an excuse, but it was giving context. The word itself is disgusting, and I will always be deeply sorry to anyone who had to see that, and will continue to be sorry for all the dumb, vile shit in my past. I want to clear up the misconception that I ever had a makeup company before Jeffree Star Cosmetics. That is 100% false and a rumor that was started to smear my name. The website that some claiming I made never happened or existed. And it's not smearing by putting all the pieces together on something that you've never commented on. I feel like that's self-explanatory. For a few days, I launched a splash page with a very graphic photo of me cutting and bleeding. It said coming soon, and it was intended to be the URL for my livejournal.com profile. If you're too young to know what that is, it was a photo sharing site where I was a member. I ended up never using it, and that same week dissolved the URL and tried to erase the horrible images of me self-harming from the internet. Also, I've seen a very old photo of me standing next to someone who has a Confederate flag on in a diner that was in Visalia, California. I was asked to be in that photo for shock value because I was gay and obviously not into what the flag represents. I was mocking the flag, but now I see how ugly and wrong it was to be next to it. Should I have told them no to the photo? Absolutely. But I made the stupid decision to stand there, and I'm sorry for my actions. I will always agree with canceling Jeffree from 10 to 15 years ago. That person is long gone, but I'm also extremely proud of owning an inclusive makeup brand where I celebrate all races and genders. First off, This aged like milk, which I think is so funny in retrospect. 2, I forgot how much of like a liberal, I guess, for lack of a better term, Jeffree Star tried to position himself as at this time, because now he's just gone like full gun-loving, Wyoming-living Republican, which is so like, which is just his actual person, clearly, and always has been. This, like, the one thing I can kind of grant with Jeffree's current, like, stage of life is it feels way more unapologetic, at least, than whatever this was. And also the genders thing is so funny because he's like, I don't know what them pronouns are in, like, the interview. I have a whole video on that, by the way. I can't put the clips in because Barstool will copyright me, but that video that I have, they released the copyright on, so you can watch it from that video. That will also be in the playlist down below. I won't let any of my past overshadow who I am today, and I'll always use my platform to spread awareness and only show inclusivity. I want to apologize and say sorry again to everyone who I offended with my past actions. I will always be sorry. I'm asking anyone who has reposted or shared the image of me cutting myself to please stop. I let someone photograph me when I was really young, and I regret doing extreme things for what I considered art at the time, and seeing it every morning when I turn on my phone has been really triggering and hard to process. Self-mutilation was something I was addicted to as a teenager and has always haunted me. I hope as human beings anyone can see why seeing these pictures over and over isn't healthy. Thank you for reading this. After this, Jeffree Star allegedly copyright strikes Liam's video. This is not a claim. Strikes not only lead to like losing money on a video, but it can also lead to full-blown channel termination. Part 3, Shane Dawson's Twitter manifesto. This is where, like, the full-blown, like, it becoming a Dramageddon, people are calling it a Dramageddon and all that stuff, I think, really begins. Shane Dawson, presumably because of the intense internet criticism that Jeffree has started being looped in, people started to kind of, like, be like, well, what was Shane doing this whole time? Shane, on June 20th, 2020, came out with the infamous Welcome to the Circus post. This was 4 days shy of my 20th birthday, and what a good gift this was, brother. I also made a video on this like 3 days ago, but the quality is poopy and there's like no views, so let's pretend I never talked about it. Welcome to the circus. My final thoughts on the beauty world. A few questions that I've been getting lately. Did I know that she was thinking about making a video? Yes. 2, did I tell her to make a video? No. Did I have any involvement in the video? No. Did I orchestrate it? No. Did I need that kind of drama to make a good series? No. Have I ever tried to ruin a career to make someone look bad in my 15 years on YouTube? No. Do I have a track record of getting into drama with people or having fights with other YouTubers? No. That one's a lie, brother. That was not true. Am I innocent and don't have a huge anxiety-provoking regrets about how I could have helped everyone handle everything better? No. I've had a pit in my stomach since it all happened. Now on to my final thoughts on the beauty world and my experience with it. The Conspiracy Palette was one of the best experiences of my life. The series with Jeffree changed my life and changed me as a person. It helped me be more confident and stand up for myself, which I've always been bad at. So to honor the series and what I learned from it, I'm going to say this. The beauty gurus who are always involved in scandals are all the same. They are all attention-seeking, game-playing, egocentric, narcissistic, vengeful, two-faced, taking time bombs ready to explode, and I'm over it. Despite the fact that one of those people, and the only one who's been involved in every single little thing, is this supposed bestie of yours. The theme is cognitive dissonance. For real. Like, it's crazy how much it's, like, bothering me at this point. Yes, they're talented, creative, smart, and love makeup, but they also join a side of the internet that is obsessed with looks, money, power, fame, screenshots, and subtweets. Releasing private text, voice memos, and emails and other receipts as a way to paint myself in a particular light or someone else in a bad light is weird to me, and I'll never engage in that. That is a game that they know how to play well, and I would rather eat my own hands off than play it. Yes, Jeffree's in that list of dramatic gurus, and he would admit that, and he'll always be family to me, and I love him despite those characteristics. He is very aware of the fact that I don't agree with many of the ways he approaches situations, and I've been very honest with him about needing to make some changes. But as far as being in the beauty world, I can't take the drama anymore, and that's not how I'm wired, so I'm out. It's draining, exhausting, depressing, and sometimes amazing, but for me, the amazing is outweighed by the bad. I can't have the pit in my stomach every day waiting for the next scandal or the next exposed video. It's going to give me health issues, and I'm done caring about it anymore. I've never been involved in drama with another YouTuber ever, and the second I decided to do a beauty series, boom, I'm in the hurricane. So did I plan Dramageddon? Are you serious? No. Do people in the YouTube world come to me like a grandpa and tell me their problems and ask me for advice? Yes. It is easy for me to get wrapped up in something potentially toxic if I think someone I love is being hurt or upset. Yes. It's an issue I need to work on and have been working on. When she told me how upset she was in person, I had the same reaction the world did when they saw her video. I felt awful for her and she seemed broken. So I tried to be there for her and be someone she could talk to about it. So I was shocked when she decided to make a video? No. Was I shocked that Tati read his ass for fucking filth? Yes. I wasn't acting. I didn't know it was going to be that intense. Looking back, I still believe her on a lot what she said, and I believe she felt it was what she needed to do at the time. Does she regret it? Probably. Does it mean we should see James as some poor, innocent, sweet angel? No. Don't get it twisted. Him and Jeffree have always been on the top of the dramatic guru list, and I mean that with love. There's like a very interesting othering that Shane does here. The refusal to address Tati by her name, which is something I mentioned in that video too, like my first one, is so strange. It almost appears that Shane is trying to build Tati into this like representation of the entire community, despite her being someone that Shane is having beef with at this time. Did I warn James about the video? No. Why? For reasons that I'll never discuss. We've spoken privately on it, and that's that. Do I think James is the devil? No. Do I think he was young, egocentric, power-hungry guru who needed to be served a slice of humble pie the size of the Empire State Building? Yes. Has he grown as a person since then? It really seems like it, and that's amazing. I'm truly happy if he's realized how his ego was affecting others, which he did address in his No More Lies video. Do I think Tati's a villain? No. Do I think Tati was sick of being treated like shit by so many in the beauty world that she finally snapped? And damn, did she snap all the way off? Holy shit. This is so ridiculous. This is like the most nuts way. Did she really snap all the Did she fucking snap all the way up? Holy she really said and beat her face to the gods and popped off that ring light and went full Game of Thrones on that shit. I forgot how that I haven't read this, and so I read this when I was scripting, but I don't remember this being this funny. I honestly have been scripting this I started this on my first day of like working for real, which was June 10th. So it's been 2 months and 12 days to me recording this. I've been working on this. So this is probably why I forgot that this was as funny as it is. Say what you want about her or that video, but that shit in the history books. YouTube Rewind even gave it an acknowledgement. Damn. Okay, sorry, back to my rant. Do I think Jeffree orchestrated the whole situation? No. Tati's a strong woman who made a choice. Do I think Jeffree was also upset by some issues with James and some things he heard behind the scenes? Yes. Was Jeffree excited to see a competitor fall? Probably. He's Jeffree Star. What do you expect? I guess I missed the part where he got baptized and devoted his life to Christ. Did Jeffree take it too far and f up big time by tweeting what he did? Yes. And it's one of the biggest regrets of his life. This all happened over a year ago, and I'm really sick of hearing about it and having people constantly using it as a way to keep my name and others' names tagged together in drama videos. Don't get it twisted. Drama will never end with a lot of these people. It's their game, their survival, their drug. They love it. This specific drama went too far, obviously, and hopefully something like that will never happen again. Putting drama in the trailer was something I regret more than anything in the world, and I'm mad that I chose tea over my morals. I'm really sorry to Tati and James if me putting the drama in the series at all felt like reopening up wounds. Although I did speak to both of them privately about the trailer, I should not have done it at all. Drama might be fun to watch, but it's not fun to get wrapped up in, and it's my fault for letting that happen, and I'm sick of being trapped in the middle of it. Do I think this will be the last drama involving these people? Haha, no. I don't. Do I want to be involved ever again? No. Remember to not expect these gurus to maintain some high moral code. And we shouldn't have some they must be perfect or they're cancel mentality. There's a reason you watch these people. It's because they are so extra. They're dramatic. And if you keep canceling them and wanting them to go away, then what will you talk about? You don't go to a circus to watch the hay on the ground. You go to watch the over-the-top performers who just want to be liked and want to do whatever they can to get your attention. If you don't want to feed into it, then don't. But before all the drama-free gurus pop off at me and say, well, I'm not involved in drama and I'm perfect. Girl, please. Your top viewed videos are probably top makeup fails and anti-hauls with vomit emojis all over the screen. And that's okay. I love those videos, but let's not pretend the beauty world isn't negativity first, makeup second. It's just how it is, and I'm sick of people pretending to be so above it all. And with that, I said I love watching beauty channels of all sizes, and I will continue to watch and support them. The dramatic ones, the non-dramatic ones, the ones who generally just love to show their makeup skills. Sadly, those channels get way less views for reasons I've stated above. So go and enjoy the gurus. Enjoy the circus. Unsubscribe from me if you're mad that I'm no longer engaging in it. Unsubscribe to gurus you don't like. Subscribe to gurus you do like. Just don't take the beauty world as seriously as I did and many of us did in 2019. It's not worth it, and I feel like we lost a bit of our soul during Dramageddon. As for my channels, I'm done with the beauty world. I love what I was able to create with Jeffree, and I'm sure people are going to assume I only did it for money, but that's not true. I am just choosing to no longer be a part of that world. I will watch beauty videos, buy and play with makeup, and be a part of my life online. But as far as being part of the world back on YouTube, I don't think it's for me. I need to get back to why I started YouTube back in 2005, and that was making things that bring me joy, not drama. And to make movies one day. Makeup will now just be a fun hobby I have to help with my anxiety, like slime or emotional eating, and all that sounds really good to me right now. This will be my last and only addition to what I posted. Do I think it was okay for the internet to bully James? No, of course not. Not sure why some people took it that way from my post. I literally said it was too far and it should never happen again. I don't want to get too dark in my post, which is why I didn't get to more detail on that. We all know collectively the internet was too mean to James, and I don't think I need to reiterate that. Me saying that he needs to be humbled isn't mean, it's honest, and he said that in his own video. Should the humbling happen off camera? Yes, which I said, but I guess I didn't word that right. And I'm sorry if my humor regarding Tati's video seemed like I was making light of the situation. Humor is how I deal with stuff, especially when it involves the insanity of the world. Okay, that's it. Leaving Twitter for a few months is bad for my brain. I feel good in my heart about what I said, and that's all I can do. Sorry it wasn't the tea people wanted, but I'm officially done with tea. And interesting, and this is like super interesting in retrospect, because it still appears that there's something that Jeffree and Shane knew about James, which he talks about in the line specifically regarding, did I warn James about the video? No. Why? For reasons that I'll never discuss. And it's just, I really think it was like these things were not brought forward because at the time it was not able to benefit them in the way that it would have otherwise. Jumping into like a little rhetoric concept, we're going to get pretty dramatic and draw comparisons to the aims, structures, and implications that are indebted into propaganda. Richard Weaver has 4 bases that make something propaganda: name-calling, false cause and effect, false analogies, and false appeal to authority. While Jeffree is the master of especially points 1, 2, and 4, name-calling, false cause and effect, and false appeal to authority, the statement that Shane Dawson made also falls into these categories. What I wonder is what the purpose was as Jacques Ellul breaks propaganda into the separate camps, orthodoxy and orthopraxy. Now, these are separated by both the main basis of the application, but also the era in which they had the most prominence. When we're talking about orthodoxy leaned into propaganda's origins. The goal, per Ellul's analysis, is that it focuses on appealing to the mind, pure doctrine, entirely based on thoughts and the way that you construct, the way that you process things. The goal is to change those thoughts into a specific direction. Specifically, it wants to adhere to a truth decided by the person who's bringing this forward. Orthopraxy, on the other hand, is based on action, the goal being to mobilize, typically mindlessly mobilize. One thing that I found really hit the nail on the head was the focus on immobilizing that he brings in on irrationality. This is sort of the only way that you can really mobilize and gather people for these things that are actually seemingly meaningless. Think about it this way. How much of the internet focuses on promoting a cycle of coming forward to push an oppositional agenda or to seek parasocial action as quickly as possible, especially in this time on the internet? For example, the way that people weaponize the term haters, detractors, people who have nothing better to do with their lives. That's the only reason that they would ever, come for me. Like they just can't, I even make jokes about it sometimes, even in my comments, where some people will say these like really wild things and I'll be like, go outside. When I'm saying it, I mean, not because you're criticizing me do I think that you need to go outside. It's what you're criticizing about. Sometimes I'm just like, girl, there are way more serious things out there, or you're seemingly misrepresenting this on purpose. This is still something, especially Jeffree, like the real ones, the Star family, all these sorts of kind of like othering us versus them mentality, which in its basis is made to mobilize. Shane saw the building of criticism both himself and Jeffree and sought out pity from his audience to dispel the rumors. And I know that these men are still aware that their main audience is going to bat for them no matter what. And they'll even go to the point of harassment to anyone who opposes them. We know these people name call. See, for example, Jeffree's use of haters or straight up berating insults that Jeffree would do on Twitter to random people. I'm sure I can find some screenshots of Jeffree just being like super nasty people on the internet. Also, obviously, the Snapchat and Instagram stories. I talked about this a lot in my Dramageddon 1 video specifically about other people in the influencer space. Everyone who was aware of this false cause and effect, this is kind of what drew up the controversy in the first place, right? Jeffree knew how bad James was, but didn't feel like he could be the person to expose it mostly because of the way that James was able to flip public favor. So then he had to readjust to it being a behind the scenes thing only, right? He had to recontextualize what he was doing and why he was doing it, which is why you got that super weird never doing this again video. The false analogies draw themselves to the comparisons and a self-imposed seriousness. Shane literally poised himself as his head of the beauty community despite only releasing one ugly collection and a small video series. Propaganda is something that people typically want to associate with government entities, promotional movements, hate speech, or even to some degree institutions aimed to educate in some context. You can be educated on things that are bad. You know what I mean? Education as a concept is good, but its applications can vary. So think of it this way too when we're talking about the power of these videos and the power that they're able to bring. I live in Canada, which has a population of, I think I checked, is about 38 million. There are several videos on the Shane Dawson channel that have more views than this entire country's population. Okay? And Canada's like a pretty like well-known like G7 moment country, whatever, North America, blah, 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 blah. So like this, like I talked about this in my most viewed video on the channel talking about beauty influencers or whatever. It's like people really don't realize how much pull these people have. The sheer views, they think it's because it's the internet that it doesn't really matter. I was comparing Michaela Nogueira's views and subscribers or followers, whatever, to the Super Bowl. Okay? Like, that's what I'm saying. From Shane's Twitter manifesto, he brings an outpour of people sharing the positives that they've taken away from the beauty community, which is good, and also pointed out that Shane and Jeffree are the real problem, which for their cause and their propaganda base was bad. And you pretty rarely see like a propaganda piece fail this hugely. In pointing out that Jeffree and Shane were in fact the problem, people began giving Shane the treatment that Jeffree had, where they start bringing out old content about Shane. This content that was resurfacing was super racist. It involved doing blackface, doing these impressions of black women perceived as ghetto, creepy content targeted towards children, and also consistently distasteful, out-of-touch content, and unearthed how horrible Shane was as well to the staff of these like weird little movie things that he was making for a while. Shane tries to cover his own ass by tweeting the following in regard to this beauty guru tweet, where it says, "I deleted everything. I'm done. For those who wanted me to address it, I did. I'm sure you can find it reposted somewhere. I don't want this energy in my life or on my timeline. I'm too sensitive for this shit. I'm done." That's only the start, because now we're going to move on to part 4. Part 4, the apology tour. With Shane's past coming out, many people began looking at content that had come out in the early 2000s YouTube. Many were reflecting on the fact that this content surpassed just being edgy. In this time, we also had Jenna Marbles kind of reflecting on her own content and making an apology video that would turn out to be her last ever appearance on YouTube, at least as of right now, but I think she's done forever. I thought that at the time. This apology video shook up the internet because the general consensus around prominent influencers and the way that they would apologize was they would run away from anything if it meant not taking accountability for something. Jenna Marbles' video still goes down as one of the very few good influencer apology videos to have ever come out. The structure of the video came as a shock, where Jenna came right in admitting the many mistakes that were made early in her YouTube career. While there was somewhat a note to conceding to shock value for attention, she said that she wanted to bring this up to be a truly decent human being towards others, and even showed direct examples of videos that she had private and stuff, just out of like her own feelings of not wanting to have that content up anymore.
The fact that there are people that were offended that I did blackface as Nicki Minaj in 2011, and I'll show you the clip. Incredibly cringy and embarrassing. This is private. It has been private for quite some time, but it looks like this. And I do just want to tell you that it was not my intention to do blackface. This is the end of the video where I took my wig off. I don't know how else to say this, but it doesn't matter, because all that matters is that people were offended and it hurt them. And for that, I am so unbelievably sorry that this isn't okay. And it hasn't existed on the internet for a long time because it's not okay. And I haven't done anything remotely like that because I heard people say, this is blackface, and I don't like that. And I just would never want to put that into the world. So this has been private for a long time. But I do want to tell you how unbelievably sorry I am if I ever offended you by posting this video or by doing this impression, and that was never my intention. It's not okay. It's shameful. It's awful. I wish it wasn't part of my past. The next thing that I want to address. Okay, this is also from 2011. A bad year for me in judgment, apparently. This video is called Bounce That Dick. This has also been made private. I don't want to offend anyone. I'm not interested in it. I'm not interested in making anyone feel bad, case you haven't noticed. Here's a clip. I will play it for you. Here, hold on, let me remind you. So as you can see, I said, hey Ching Chong Wing Wong, shake your King Kong Ding Dong. Sorry that was racist, I'm bad at rap songs. It's awful, it doesn't need to exist. It's inexcusable, it's not okay. I'm incredibly sorry if this offended you. Then, now, whenever. It doesn't need to exist. It shouldn't have existed. I shouldn't have said that, ever. It's not cool, it's not cute, it's not okay. And I'm embarrassed that I ever made that.
The video came as understanding consequences first, addressing the roots of those things second, and personal point of view third, which flipped the script from the usual pattern that beauty influencers bring into the videos, where they tend to be a borderline or blatantly inauthentic self-preservation model. This self-preservation model was something that people were really, really tired of and didn't see to be fitting anymore at this time. Then, while there was somewhat a note to concede to the shock value, attention-seeking behavior, people were quick to kind of be like, you know, Jenna owned up to it. I think at the end of the day, it was good. This video, though, had now set expectations for influencer apology videos at the same time that people were non-stop demanding that Shane Dawson said something. So then Shane Dawson came out with an apology video. Because not only were there racist videos, there began to emerge a vast array of content that was far beyond inappropriate towards minors. This extended to even putting children in sexually explicit positions on camera, Shane being incredibly gross towards Tana Mojo as a minor, as well as a video of Shane Dawson mimicking doing some behaviors to a poster of Willow Smith that prompted the Jada Pinkett Smith and Jane Smith to come out and say something about this, because the poster is of 11-year-old Willow Smith. So Shane comes in and makes his own apology video. Now, to try to recontextualize another main point that really bothered people when Shane made this Twitter manifesto as being the issue that it was also because he positioned himself as a forefront of the beauty community. Despite only coming in to be messy, eliminate competition, and get a bag, he didn't really bring anything to the beauty community like he said he was going to. Then Shane came in with the apology video that was inspired by Jenna Marbles. And what is happening is that Shane was going off of the coattails of an apology video that for once got an actually truly positive response. I'll TLDR this Shane Dawson video. Opens with saying that it was inspired by Jenna Marbles, as I mentioned. Goes into the racist videos that he made, which to a certain degree he apologized for in the past as well, but again, very superficially. Shane goes in and discusses the pedo allegations, especially stemming from the specific podcast episode, with clips that had as well references to Shane's then underage cousin. Discusses that it was played up for attention, then continues to go through a statement of the beauty community and apologizes specifically for the comment that was telling James Charles that he needed a slice of humble pie the size of the Empire State Building, and finishes by addressing public backlash.
Okay, so first let's start with blackface. Blackface was something that I did a lot. I did it a lot on my channel, and there's no excuse for it. There's literally no excuse. I made a video 6 years ago talking about it, and I gave excuses, and I knew it was wrong, and I knew I would never want to do it again, but I didn't do the work. I didn't actually look into the history of it and why it's so wrong and why people were so upset. Because my excuse, I was just being funny. I love black people. I'm not racist. I was trying to be funny. All of that is stupid and wrong. And I put that onto the internet as an adult, and that is insane. I'm so sorry. I am so sorry to anybody that saw that and that also saw that people were lifting me up and were saying, you're so funny, Shane. Oh my God, you're so funny. I can't even put myself in that head. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be black and to see this white fucking guy do blackface and the whole internet at that time being like, LOL. That's insane. And I am so sorry. I don't know how to even fully apologize because it seems like something that is irredeemable. Or I don't know the right word, but it's something that I shouldn't even be able to get out of. I should lose everything for that. I can tell you this. I don't have hate for any race or any people with weight issues or any of that special needs. I don't have hate in my heart for anyone. But it doesn't make up for the fact that I made jokes about everyone. And some of the jokes were way too far. And I think this year specifically really changed me as a person. And I started seeing black people who I know, who I'm friends with, who I've known for a long time. I'm seeing them openly talking about on their Instagram or Twitter the years of anger they've had about racist jokes, about blackface, about, microaggressions, everything that they've gone through. And I felt like the biggest piece of shit in the entire world. I felt awful. And the biggest problem with me doing that and posting it on the internet was it made young people at the time who were watching me think it was okay. And that's the craziest part. It's like I've had people tell me, well, I used to watch your videos when I was a kid, and yeah, I never saw anything wrong with that. And that is scary because it made me realize, oh my God, I have been a part of such a huge problem and I have just been avoiding it. And that's wrong. So I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that I added to the normalization of blackface or the normalization of saying the N-word. That's another thing. I mean, and my justification at the time for that was, oh, it was, I was playing a character and it was in comedy and my black friend was there and, that makes it okay. No, it's not okay. And it's not a funny word, especially for a white person to say. Me as a white person wearing a wig and playing a character and doing stereotypes and then saying the N-word is something that I should have probably lost my career for at the time. And there's no amount of apologizing that can take it away.
This video overall did not go over well, to say the least, with a distaste in Shane's consistent fakeness and dodging of consequences really coming forward. People began advocating for the demonetization of Shane Dawson's channel, which did briefly actually happen. But now let's move on to Jeffree. Part 5, focus shifts to Jeffree. I remember talking about this and I think a stream last year, and it felt like a fever dream going back to because it feels like it went unnoticed to this day. Blair White put out a video where she outlines her friendship with Jeffree Star and the observations she made in a brief time where they hung out and stuff, I guess. Before this, we need to provide a little bit of context. Through the end of 2019 to 2020, Chris Hansen, known from the show To Catch a Predator, began making these super long streams where he would go over predatory internet behavior. Chris's first point, as I mentioned earlier in this video, was focusing on specifically Onision, and I talked about a lot of those issues that came in, tampered evidence, etc. Once Chris moved to Dabby Vanity, even in the Onision streams, he often featured other creators, which were often done in a sort of panel style. This included people like Jimmy Snow, Repsion, Shiloh, and notably here, Blair White. Blair White came onto this video discussing how she wanted to make a video regarding the Dabby Vanity allegations, and how she had mentioned this on Twitter prior, and how Jeffree quickly came into her DMs to try to stop it. And he said that the receipts on Chris Hansen's show were fake. And then Blair says that Jeffree does in fact have proof that James Charles did in fact, and I quote, molest someone. Brought up that Jeffree would use any evidence of this as leverage towards other people and when he was in any situations. And then she cites the Mom's Basement podcast that I discussed before. Blair brings up the James allegations to a point to demonstrate that Jeffree has a history of covering up P words in contexts in which it favors him. And because James is in good favor at this time when she's making the video, that is why he is not willing to actually put James Charles at risk.
Typed out Jeffree's first name in response to someone on Twitter. A reply tweet, not a main feed tweet, saying, I'm thinking about doing a video specifically about Jeffree's involvement with Dabby Vanity because it's really shady. He then was in my DMs with a quickness to, in my opinion, put out a fire. He didn't want my video to be made, so he came in my DMs, requested a FaceTime. We most definitely FaceTimed. And this, by the way, this video is not about Dabby Vanity. Okay, this is just a backdrop of how we came into contact, and I have to be specific about that. And basically, he manipulated me into not going forward with my video, said that a bunch of the things that were out there were fabricated, a lot of the receipts I planned on using were fabricated, was very convincing about it, and then a few days later went on Chris Hansen, went back on all of that, and basically showed himself to lie to me. He said a lot of the things were fake, and then went back and said they were real on Chris Hansen, but again, that is just point A. This is not the point of this video. That's how we came into contact. So, however the conversation proceeded, it got to him asking me, so what's your opinion of James Charles? And keep in mind, a year ago, he called James Charles a predator and then refused to back it up with the receipts he promised he had. I told him my honest view, which is one that I was public with a year ago when it happened, and said, I felt like if you were going to call him a predator and promise that you had the receipts, you should have proven it and you should have provided those receipts and you shouldn't have tried to back out of it. I didn't feel that was right. He said, okay, I respect it, but do you want to know the truth? And this is the point where I wish I would have said no, in a way, but in a way not. He then provided me with receipts of a voice memo from a YouTuber who was allegedly sexually molested by James Charles, and it's credible. It's a YouTuber, it's credible. It is not my place to out this YouTuber's name at all. I have privately reached out to this YouTuber and said, hey, I'm a rape survivor myself, because I am, and I should never have been told this, but I want to let you know it's okay to go public with your story, it's okay to be heard, or even just to talk to me if you need to, because I am a survivor myself. So I'm in shock after being given this information by Jeffree, and then Jeffree proceeds to tell me, James will never attack me because I have this on him. I have shit on everyone, which he has said publicly before. I have shit on everyone.
Because I have dirt on everyone, and they know to keep their mouths shut.
I don't view something like this as gossip that you hold over someone's head or whatever. This is something serious. This is a crime. And just the fact that he's blackmailing people with this is disgusting. And the fact that I am expected to hold on to this information as well. And just the shocking fact that this is our first interaction ever and he's telling me this, I'm like, how many other people know this and have heard this voice memo and know that this is the truth? What? You know what I'm saying? Like, if this is my first interaction with you and you feel comfortable enough to tell me this, thinking that I'm just going to be in on this little game and complicit and he. No, that's something serious. And yes, it did take me a month to do this video, but that's because I have been scared. This is something serious. And I want to be very clear, this is not my place to out this person, you know, the victim's name, because this is clearly their story to tell. But you guys have to understand the position I'm in. If I receive credible information that a very famous, very powerful YouTuber is a sexual molester or predator, but am I complicit with helping cover up for a predator by not saying that at least that much is true? That's the battle that's been going on in my head. And that's why I reached out to this person privately, the alleged victim, and offered my support.
Here we then now begin having a lot of brands falling out, a lot of sponsors, a lot of demonetizations coming in. And here we have this infamous statement from Morphe where they say on July 10th, 2020, today we've made the decision to cease all commercial activity related to Jeffree Star and affiliated products. We expect this to continue within the coming weeks. As we look into the future, we will continue to share updates on what lies ahead for the Morphe brand. And Jeffree Star Cosmetics put out a statement saying, we are shocked and extremely saddened by the decision of our former retail partner Morphe Brushes on parting ways with our brand and Jeffree. Over the past 5 years, we've accomplished amazing things together and released iconic products. We are proud of everything we've accomplished with them. What's next? We have an incredible remainder of 2020 planned and our partners around the world. We know our customers will continue to create, inspire, and push boundaries of our art. Love you all, Jeffree Star Cosmetics. And when everyone felt things could not get any worse, Tati puts out her bombshell video, Breaking My Silence. First video Tati had put out after months of having literally zero internet presence. I have to be honest, I forgot how absolutely bonkers this video was. So first off, the whole basis of the video is around an appeal to authority of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I needed to go through the visual layout of this video as well. And I know that I typically focus on statements primarily because and stray away from appearances because it quickly turns into like body language analysis pseudoscience. But I want to look at the screen here. I'll put a screenshot of the video up right now, okay? On screen, there's a screenshot that shows Tati looks somewhat rattled, which is a reflection of her emotion, which is fair. But notice how compared to the video where she's on the offensive, where she came in full glammed, darker dress, drapey kind of, and very direct, well-lit framing. This is a sort of warm light. Notice that she's wearing a shirt that says peace on it. She's sort of off-center and not consistently looking directly into the camera. When we circle back to what she's actually saying as well, she brings up needing to pray for her and begins flip-flopping about the state of the world. Something that Jeffree Star later does in this infamous Golden Couch video that we're, of course, going to get to. Tati clearly thinks about that there is something really big going on and that this is some sort of earth-shattering event, but keeps trying to loop in the state of the world to have a little bit of a touch of self-awareness. At the end of this all, though, it's really just a bunch of millionaires pointing fingers at each other and their own transgressions. There's also a section that is just Tati gushing about how much she loves James Charles and should have never done any of this to James Charles, despite everything that she had said about him the year prior. Tati also directly says the only reason she ever said anything about James was because Shane and Jeffree were in her ear, now citing the sugar hair debacle as a thing that had pushed her over the edge. There's a savior angle that also comes up through like by sister as well, but more so in this video, where Tati wanted to be a positive influence, which she keeps reiterating over and over again. And it was like she was trying to save everyone involved. And then there's also just these random short crying bursts as well. Tati also mentions the sheer amount of blackmail that Jeffree Star seemed to have on literally everyone. And the tail end of the video is a lot of speculation about Shane and Jeffree's affairs, also bringing up the speculation of Jeffree being the co-owner of Morphe Brushes, which was something that was big at the time. However, I read the statement about Jeffree getting dropped. That should have actually come after this. Please leave me alone. This is too much to deal with. Also, final monologue about not spreading hate, a little bit of moral grandstanding about peace. But this video had very little substance, which she claims was because of this sort of litigation that she had to have it passed by lawyers. Despite the fact that it is 4 years later, my watch, normally my watch goes in my other hand too, and it's charging. So 4 years later, and nothing has come of anything.
For over a year now, every time the scandal is revisited, either in the mainstream media or through social platforms, I become the #1 target of relentless hate while remaining voiceless. I've lost over a year of my life terrified of social media and terrified of speaking up against the people that used, coerced, and manipulated me into uploading my video in May of last year. As a result, the damage to my health, relationships, reputation, business, and general well-being have been enormous. The platform that I love, this platform that saved my life and that changed my life, has become toxic, and what it needs now more than ever are peacemakers. We need to find our way back to the beginning through forgiveness and leading with love. We need to rebuild a safe place to escape again. Our world seems to be falling apart all around us, so the last thing you need me to do is fuel more hate by releasing my receipts and voice memos. But I know many of you are needing some answers, as well as a long overdue apology for the role that I played. Also, by the way, these are my words. I did write this, and this is from my heart, but I am being careful here, and I think you guys understand why. Back in December 2019, after Shane and Jeffree's series ended, James Charles came to my LA home, and we compared DMs, texts, and stories about what had happened behind the scenes. We apologized to each other, forgave each other, and agreed to wait patiently until it was safe for me to share my story. Since that night, James Charles has repeatedly said that he wanted to be beside me for this video. But I felt it was important that I do it alone, because he deserves my first apology. And I am really sorry, James. And I've said that privately, but I want you to hear it publicly. I'm sorry. To provide some context, it's important for you to know that I love James Charles. He has a special place in my heart, and that never changed, even when I was hurt. I promised my dad I wasn't going to cry. I've been trying to feel... Can't do this. I've been trying to feel strong enough to do this video because I want to feel strong. I don't feel like I'm able to talk about any of this without getting emotional. So forgive my emotions. This is really difficult stuff. I was always more of a mentor than a friend to James Charles. I was someone he could lean on if he needed advice. He came into my life after he had sent me a tweet in 2016, and I met him in person for the first time at a Generation Beauty event in New York. Not long after that, his CoverGirl deal was made public, and he was off to the races. I was a proud friend, and I wanted nothing but good things for him. A few months later, he was a guest at my wedding, where he did my makeup for my wedding day. It's still my favorite memory of us, as it was a gift getting to know him before all of the success. James Charles has made his fair share of mistakes and has been in scandals. We all have, but I always believed in him, as he had a rare ability to improve himself through any situation. In the past, if I was upset, it never lasted long. He is gifted with turning pain into strength, and I've always admired that. However, prior to the scandal last May, I'd started growing frustrated with what I perceived as a progressing sense of entitlement, and I felt that he was making some detrimental choices that could jeopardize his career and safety. None of my concerns became overwhelming until after I met Shane Dawson. When I made my video, I expressed my opinions about James Charles's behavior. I expressed how much a specific decision he made that I perceived as betrayal hurt me. I was very worried and heartbroken, but I did not lie in that video. I never called James Charles a p***er, and I never said that James Charles was a danger to society. My video was not made with any malice. I did not publicly air any of the horrific accusations that were being made behind the scenes. While I was definitely upset that he had accepted a sponsorship from the biggest rival to my brand, Halo Beauty, I did not make my video because of vitamins. I made it as a result of all of the poisonous lies that were fed to me by Shane Dawson and Jeffree Star. James Charles' Sugar Bear Hair sponsorship and all of the drama that had kicked up afterwards, that was just my breaking point.
During the first few hours of this video being out, we get the very, very iconic Shane Dawson Instagram live where he's absolutely losing it about Tati's video in the background.
Jeffree sent me what he claimed was an audio file from an alleged victim and told me to listen to the pain in their voice. The audio was clearly a small portion of the conversation. It wasn't enough for me to contact the authorities. It was enough to scare me.
Well, then why would you make a video on the matter claiming these allegations?
Because she is a... I can't. I don't want to say mean things about people. This is insane. This person literally... Oh my God. Okay, sorry, keep pressing play. I need to get through this video so I can... Oh my God.
As a victim of abuse myself...
Oh my God. You are so manipulative.
Also, the best Ryland tweet to have ever come out of his account, the "Don't Tray Me" in all caps, which was just tweeted in blind rage. Then Trisha, in an attempt to defend Shane, made a video called Tati Dumb as Hell. which actually ends up confirming that Jeffree Star was as nasty to her as everyone was claiming on this Vegas trip. This in turn signals people coming in harder for Jeffree even more, now that there are claims that are substantiated in Tab and Cam's video, bringing more legitimacy to the other stuff surrounding it that was being said. Trisha then brings up in a mukbang that Jeffree reached out to apologize and that she initially responded poorly because of the feeling of the boundaries that she has towards leaked DMs. Now, I'm really running out of steam, so let's get into Jeffree's weird couch video that Adam McIntyre pointed out that the thumbnail was serving face first, apologizing second. This 10.5 minute long video functions very clearly with no other purpose than to diffuse controversy. Clearly, the way that Jeffree attaches himself to the words from this previous video that he had made the year before, never doing this again, when he was in much better public light in an attempt to steer himself back into that position. This structuring is a very poor implementation of Chaïm Perelam's practical argumentation theory, which, to summarize very shortly, as practical argumentation allows for the introduction of local principles based on the real world by the orator or rhetor. It is based on society, the community, and its community values and beliefs, as well as the particular audience and fields in which they exist in. It also values logic and value judgment, and because we're looking at local as opposed to universal, there is a manipulation of things like elements of ambiguity, using some sorts of reasonable language, and specifically a very short frame of reference. We also have the concept of the audience analysis, which goes into this, which is the intellectual contract and objections of agreement, which just means that there are 4 components: employ language and non-formal reasoning, certain elements of agreement must be selected, mutual goodwill, and balanced unfolding of this exact debate. So in this video, for example, Jeffree continues with self-separating from past actions and current patterns of behavior.
But at the end of the day, today, once again, I will not be exposing anyone. For everyone saying Jeffree's going to be coming with the receipts and we all need to get ready to forgive, that is the opposite of who I am. I know I'm dramatic, I'm crazy at times, I'm outspoken, but at the end of the day, that is not who I am. And today I will not be sitting here showing a million text messages and all these things that allegedly are out there. That's not it. I will not be entertaining it. My lawyers are entertaining it behind the scenes, but I will not be. I know this may sound shocking coming from my mouth, but when you accept that you are the problem, you can become the solution. And I've definitely put myself in the victim mentality before when I knew I was wrong and I didn't want to admit it, I wasn't ready to, and I was too insecure. But today, there are no excuses. I'm someone that has impulse control, and I'm fully admitting my flaws, and I hope that people can learn from me. I have moments where I get fired up, I don't think things through, I don't think about how my actions will affect others while I'm saying them. And when you speak from your emotions without fully processing something, it is one of the most unhealthy things, and that is a very major problem of mine. A lot of people want me to address this situation, and a lot of people were putting a time stamp like, Jeffree, you need to speak on this right now. And I think that we live in a world where people are just so used to doing what people want right away, and that's not good either. I think it's been very important to stay off of social media. I haven't been on in weeks. I haven't read anything, I haven't clicked a video, I haven't seen anything. And it's been really about finding myself again and remembering why I'm here and how my actions can affect other people and everyone around me. I know there's a lot of people waiting for me to address this situation. Now, I didn't try to take anyone down. I'm not a villain in a movie. This isn't a Netflix series with a crazy storyline. I know it sounds like it, and trust me, I'm sure I'd watch it as well, but this is my real life, and a lot of things that are happening and being said are false. When someone else tries to take someone else down or their career and it doesn't work, you can't just take a few more down with you. That's not how life works. We have to all take accountability for our own actions and no one else's, and that's what I will continue to do. And if I don't, please remind me.
This is creating a very specific frame of reference. One point about this theory Jeffree implements so much is the use of shared evidence and these elements of ambiguity, leaving out specific points and trying to create a distance between himself and others and his own actions because of the amount of time. Only boiling actions down to the term situations as well, which is redirecting the language used. And he never actually mentions a single thing directly what he's done besides tweeting. Doubles down on his own distractions and just issues in general, then says it's not deflecting, then immediately shields to black and trans people, which is just genuinely sickening.
Now, Breonna Taylor still has no justice. Black trans women are being murdered every day and the news is silent. Elijah McClain has no justice, and the countless other people who are murdered every single day while everyone just goes about their business like nothing's happening. And I think that drama and the beauty world, which I have definitely been a part of, it all has to stop. Now, 6 months ago, before COVID and everything hit our world, it was such a different place for all of us. And including myself, it's really time to reflect on the big picture. Now, Shane Dawson. He is one of my best friends and someone who helped me remember who I am when I was starting to crack and lose focus of who I really was. He is genuine, amazing, he is selfless, and he is one of the most kind people that I've ever met in my entire world. I know that Shane would put his family and friends before himself in a flash. Now, did Shane and I get caught up in the drama and do some dumb shit? Of course we did, but that is my best friend, and I was actually truly shocked that people thought that I was going to distance myself from him or that my silence was anything but support. I know Shane from now. I don't know Shane from 10 years ago, and he doesn't know me from 10 years ago. Now, do I agree with Shane's past actions? Of course I don't. And does he agree with my past behavior? Of course he doesn't.
More deflection on how inclusive he is and how good he thinks he is for the beauty community, and claims that he's reflecting on himself only for the foreseeable future, the next 2 years, to be a crazy downfall for him, where he just leans into like being like a gun-loving Republican, as I mentioned earlier, and really utilizing this poor application of Chaïm's theory, okay? And it's just like so useless of a video. Kind of why I left it towards the end, but this is generally how the drama ends. Everybody from this point just takes a little bit of a break and then keeps it pushing on the uploads. Like, that is literally how it ends, which is so wild to me. Now we can finally conclude the video. To conclude, we went through the build-up, tangential side characters, some propaganda and media theory, and some reminiscence on how Jeffree and Shane truly fell from greatness. Links, source, and ways to support the channel all down below, including an email to suggest content, along with probably my makeup. I'll actually put it in this time. Thank you so much for Parade for sponsoring this video. Don't forget to use code Mika50 at checkout to save some money. And I hope each and every one of you have an amazing day, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye!
A lot of people like to come up to me and say, "Oh, you look like Beavis! Beavis! Oh, do you need TP for your bunghole, Beavis? Beavis!" No, alright. I am gonna get a haircut. And let's see how you all think about... They made me Beavis!